This first piece that I was going to do, I draw things to it as well, that's what's on the other monitor, is a poem called Communication, and the music that you will hear in the background is music from the Bastard Trio that is in Madison, Wisconsin. They couldn't make the trip, but I hope you enjoy this piece. Now that we have the information superhighway, we can throw out into the open our screams, our cries for help, so much faster than we could before. Our pleas become computer blips, tiny bits of energy traveling through razor-thin wires, traveling through space, to be left for someone to decipher when they find the time. Once I checked my messages out of voicemail, and Mike left me his pager number. He told me that I had to contact him with some information. And then Steve said to call him at his office between 10:30 and noon. And then Lori told me to check my email because there was a message that I just had to read. So I first returned Steve's phone call, but he wasn't in, so I left a message. And then I dialed the number for Mike's pager, and I listened to a beep, and then I pressed my own number. Then I got online, read some messages, read a note from Ben, emptied out my junk mail. Realizing that I didn't actually get a hold of anybody, I decided to call my friend Sherry, but I got her answering machine. So I said, "Hi, it's me, Janet. I haven't talked to you in a while." At which point I realized there was nothing left to say. "So, give me a call. We should really get together and talk." I checked my email program recently, and the people that I email the most live in the same city as I do, all of whom are a local phone call away, all of whom I know the phone numbers for. In fact, one of my friends lives a block and a half away from me, on the same street as me, but I still email her as much as I call her, when I could just get out of my house, walk down the street, have an actual face-to-face conversation with her. Now that we have the information superhighway, we can throw out into the open our screams, our cries for help, so much faster than we could before. But what if we don't want to communicate, or forget how? Too busy leaving phone messages, emails, pager numbers, voicemails, forgetting to call back? What if we forget how to communicate? Once I explained to my friend Dave how I lost touch with my friend Aaron. I said, "You see, we normally email each other and we just hit reply. Now Aaron sent me an email and it had a question at the end. So I hit reply at the end and I had another question at the end of my letter. So we kept having to answer questions to each other. So we just kept replying to each other." Well, once I got an email from him with no question at the end, so I didn't have to send him a response. So I didn't. And we never thought to start a new email to each other. And we just lost touch. And then it occurred to me how difficult it had become to type an extra line of text just to type this person's email address, because that is the reason why we lost touch with one another. And then it occurred to me, no matter how many different forms of communication we have, we'll still find a way to lose touch with one another. I've got a program for my computer. It's an email or phone book program, and I love this. It sorts people by company. You can list their name and sort things by their phone number. You can keep their birthday, their address, past addresses and phone numbers, faxes, email addresses. I mean, there is absolutely anything that you could possibly have about them in this file. And I love this program. I've created a file with all of the phone numbers that I've ever needed. I always add information to this file. I keep a copy of it on my computer at home. I kept a copy of it on my computer at work. I kept it on my laptop. I would actually archive it to a DVD every week. I put it on a backup copy on my archived hard drive. I've copied it to zip disks, and when it was small enough, I actually kept it on floppy disks all the time, you know, in case there was a fire at work and my hard drive crashed. I have it everywhere, I guess. But it always seems that every time I desperately need a phone number, I'm nowhere near any computer. Now that we have the information superhighway, we can throw out into the open our screams, our cries for help so much faster than we could before. People want an instant message. People want their name as a domain name. People get email accounts. People set up web pages. And you know, I've got a cell phone. I've got a landline. But my phone's not ringing off the hook. It's like I've gone fishing, sat on a boat on a lake, put out the bait, and no one's biting. I wanted to get in touch with a friend of mine from high school, Vince, and the last I heard from him, he was off at university, but that was like years ago, and I asked a friend or two that knew him if they knew where he was, and they had lost touch with him too. So I searched on the internet to see if his name was on a web page or if he had an email address. He didn't. So I figured I just would never get a hold of him. But all of this time, I knew that his parents lived in the same house they always did. I could just call them up and say, "Hi, I'm an old high school friend of Vince's." But I never did. And then I realized why. Because you see, I could search the internet for hours and no one would know that I was looking for someone. But now, with a single phone call, I'd make it known to his whole family that I wanted to see him enough to call after all these years. I didn't want him to know that, so I never called. Because now that we have the information superhighway, we can throw out into the open our screams, our cries for help, so much faster than we could before. But then the question begs itself, who is there to listen? I see the artwork being all crazy, so I have no idea what it's looking like, but thank you.